Today, what we're going over, as you can see on the screen there, is the cementitious waterproofing. Put up a wall for you guys that I'm going to do some demos on. Like I said, I'm going to go through the product a little more thoroughly with you after. Right now, I want to just switch to actually putting that product on the wall so that you can see how it's applied in different methods. Okay, so you can roller apply cementitious while it's a certain viscosity, meaning a certain thickness. If it is a little too chunky, you can simply add some more polymer to it. When I say polymer, I mean the coating itself. The coating mixes 1 part coating to 1 part cement, Portland type A cement. I've already pre-whipped that and mixed it, so I don't want it to flash on us, and that's why I'm going to do this beforehand, because I want to show you how it's rolled, how it's shot on with. We got an electric hopper. If I had an air supplied hopper in here, that thing would be super loud, and you wouldn't be able to hear half the training. So we'll see how she works. It's a little Wagner unit from Home Depot. I'm sure it'll get her on the wall though, and then I'll show you the traditional method of doing it with your trowels and other stucco manual tools. So I'm going to run over there. This is a Wagner unit. So a hopper, guys, is generally fed. It's gravity fed, so it pulls the material down through the basin that's mounted on top. You can adjust the angle of it if you're doing like a stipple ceiling or something. It's got a handy little armrest, so it's not constantly on the shoulder. And again, it's electric. It's got a separate motor component that screws in. The tips, you can get a variety of different size holes for shooting different thickness or certain materials. And it's to help if you want to put it on. Here's the coating. So the coating, it's a thicker coating. You can tell it's been mixed with cement. Again, type A Portland cement. You guys are trying to get a higher build out of it. You can always treat it like a mortar and add some aggregates, although then it's a little more prone to cracking. Never mix water with this, okay? I'm going to throw some in the basin. So I'll shoot some here on the shoulder. That's one way to put it on the wall. This is actually really preferred if you guys mask off that top belly band area of your foundation and you want something that's going to dry and look like cement. Throwing it on like that, you can trowel it out with one of those. I don't know if you guys are aware of those stucco trowels that have, it looks like sandpaper on it. So you can get the stucco pattern of it. I'm going to grab a trowel right now. I'll just smooth this out. Nick, do you want to roll some on the wall? So obviously you're not getting as high a build when you're rolling it on, although you can get a thicker nap roller. And by that I mean the size of the foam or the fabric material on the roller head itself, and it will go on thicker. Usually what you're trying to achieve though, I mean, this works fine. Pour it under your ICF wall, roll it out for that thermal break. That works fine on that application. But if you want to get it a little bit thicker, troweling it on and have that high build attribute to it is the way to go. Now, you can always treat this just like you treat Hulk WP. our acrylic waterproofing or below grade. Oh, yeah, good point. You can treat it like that, immerse the fabric in it to really reinforce this as well. Brush and coat it in the middle, and then maybe I'll switch off with you now.
Oh, I'm glad I got
Pull that out.
I'm glad I got the gloves on and the suit. Splatter, splatter.
This is a plastic float to float your textile. You don't want to use your texture. You don't want to use the edge of a float. It's still a little sticky for the floats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the trowel. And I'm going to put a little bit, okay, so I'll give you guys a run through. This is a hawk, okay? It's made for holding your material. Get some material on the hawk. Then this, it's like a stucco trowel or mortar trowel. They're a little bit sharper edges than a regular trowel. Anybody that's familiar with mortar is cementitious products has likely done this process before. Again, if you're shooting that belly band area and you wanted to just smooth it out, I mean, you can give it a skim like that, and over top of the waterproofing, it'll look like concrete. I'm not aware of how much trowel work anybody has done. The easiest way is if your trowel's held up like this, turn your trowel toes out, scrape your hawk, get it on the wall, follow the quarter round. Okay. Get a nice smooth finish that way. Not hard at all. There are other tools in our arsenal. If you've got the material a little bit thicker, you got a lot on the wall and you're doing a panel, okay? This guy right here, a derby, you can use the straight edge of the derby, pull the material up, and you'll get a nice flat, even surface. I'll try and do a little demo here. I don't think there's enough material on the wall for the derby, but I'll give you an idea anyway.
Sorry.
It's going to kind of find the high points, and then you'll know where to build your material up. In the middle clearly is where I would have to build the material up here. Okay. And then with this, I'd say the biggest, most important thing, just keep your tools clean. Keep your tools clean. When you're putting it on the wall, you've got a good trowel. You can take out any of those little texture lumps. Maybe it hurt because you didn't mix it long enough. I mean, I prefer to mix this stuff if it looks like a good whip. After 5 minutes, I'll mix it for another 5 minutes. Do these kind of products, guys, in the morning or in the shade. Cementitious products tend to flash up quick, and we don't want that on your jobs. This one is a slower setting material. We've dialed in the set time on it. that it'll go a lot faster with water, or if you're on a moist substrate. So it's kind of different than a lot of stuccos where you want to spray down your wall. You don't want to do that with this. That moisture will pull through and it'll cause cracking. So try and avoid that. But that's how you bring your foam up to get it to look essentially like concrete, or concrete board like this hydro block has already got a mesh in it. It's got a layer of cementitious already pre-built on that. So it's really easy to go over those inset washers. You might need to go and do another skim coat. But then you would put a good thick stucco coat on there, and it's waterproof, and man, is it impact proof as well. So, okay, I'm going to run back to the other station and we'll go over the product a little more in depth.
And I will get to clean up.
Any stucco guys out there will tell you, everyone, if you're working with these kind of products, any plasters, your tools, keep them clean. Always have a few buckets of water on site. Keep everything wet. Just makes your life a lot easier. Usually why these are done, and these kind of jobs are done with a crew or at least a helper. The one person's just whipping material and loading up your hawk and or cleaning tools. Now the one application method we did not go over was a texture sprayer. But we're going to do that at the end of this demo. We'll explain what those are and how those would speed up the process. Okay, so I'm sure everybody can see the screen there that Shannon's sharing. And it's Hulk System Cementitious Waterproofing. Key points on this guy we're going to cover are in the data sheet, but we're going to look at it and how it compares to some of the other leading cementitious products on the market as well. So you want to go to the next slide there, Shannon. So like I mentioned, and in this picture, there's a guy troweling over top of the textile. We have an easy 1-to-1 mixing ratio, so you don't have to think too much when you're on the job. I would only ever mix probably a max a gallon or two's worth of the polymer with cement at one time, unless, with the caveat, unless you're putting it on with something like a hopper or a texture sprayer. If you're putting everything on by hand, those first times, if you're not familiar with putting on trowel-on products, can be a little slow, and you just don't want it to flash. So don't mix too much. It gets a mechanical bond and to the foam itself, to the point of failure, meaning that the foam will fail before the bond between the cementitious coating and the foam. And it's got really good impact resistance. We were beating on this with a hammer. You guys are familiar with Basecrete. Basecrete makes a cementitious product. So it's actually, it is probably, out of all the ones I've seen, it's my favorite next to ours. Simply because it's really friendly to put on. Although the issue has been with Basecrete is it's performed great over a lot of substrates. You have to get some real high build out of it though, to protect foam, and it doesn't have the flexibility ours has. So cracking can be an issue with Basecrete, and cracking while curing as well. So anywhere where there's high movement, or different materials, ICF foundations, pools, that's what we made this for. We made it to have some compressive strength. So you think about hundreds of thousands of pounds pushing against your foam and wanting to compress it, you need something that's not going to crack when that occurs, okay? So you need that little bit of give. That final layer, that shell, your liner, that could have the rigidity and the hardness to it, but this one's protecting everything behind it. So bring it up to to where it can handle a lot of impact. Pool coat. I don't know if anyone's familiar with pool coat. I'm only looking at the ones that I really like. There's Poolcrete as well, which is a plaster. It to me is a little too rigid and tends to crack quite a bit. Pool coat is it's a cement and a coating like ours. They then mix in a granite aggregate to it as well in their final coat, which makes it that final coat more rigid. So that is another option. It's something you can do with ours too, is on that first coat, you want that flexibility, but then give it a little bit more of a rigid coat on your second go over. Add some aggregate to it. Silicas are preferred, or a mortar sand, a fine mortar sand. And you can get that thickness that you want. You can see the pool under Cementitious, and that's the Hulk Cementitious. That one was lined 2 days after the Cementitious went on it. All those stairs are made out of rigid foam. This was actually a forever swim, Michael Phelps forever swim. It's a pool that you get in, and it provides a current. And I think it was the first one in ICF done with that, and it was done with Hulk systems. One of the pool coat downsides is that stuff needs to off gas for a really long time, almost like regular cement. And there's been issues with delamination if you smother it sometimes before 28 days. So ours is not like that. You can line it. You can be operational in under a week. So I just mentioned lack of flexibility being a problem with cementitious coatings. This was the biggest thing that we identified over probably 2.5 years of talking to guys using different pool products, was lack of flexibility. And it was also an issue with EFIS coatings. So EFIS, the cementitious behind it being too rigid, really aerated. So I mean, it can be this thick, but it's so aerated, it's like parging, like foundation parging, and you just one little bit of impact and you go through it very easy. So you can see in these examples with impact resistance, that is EFIS on both those examples. And you've got hail damage, and then probably just a vehicle bumper in that other picture, but it goes right through it very quick. And they're hard to fix because they're so thick. Another common problem with the other cementitious products on the market is these little buggers. Woodpeckers. If you're in a region without them, you're lucky. BC, the province next to us, has a ton. And there are companies getting rich just off of repairing EFIS and repairing woodpecker holes. Simply because it's very aerated, it's thick. They sense the foam as hollow, and they puncture right through and want to go burrow in there because they think, hey, I can nest, or you can get in there and there might be some sort of pest I can feed on. Hail will put holes in the high build, light composition cementitious products. Birds will. You got rodents burrow in them. Termites, roaches will dig holes in it. What's unique about this is there's a little micro beads of fiberglass in the coating itself. As well, you can add the fiberglass inlay, and I don't know if you guys can see the fiberglass layer in there. It's in there though. You can add that in, and that throws off the acoustics for the birds, and insects hate chewing through fiberglass. Now what that means is that they're less prone to want to knock on it. It's also not giving you that hollow sound. I wish I had a piece of normal EFIS to knock on, but that is much different than the the hollow acoustic you get from knocking on a lot of the EFIS products out there. And it's our cementitious that gives it that. And then
Really thin.
yeah, we'll show you getting knocked on. But we whacked it really good with the hammer, and that's, keep in mind, this is a 1/16 of an inch layer, and we're not getting through it with a hammer. You can, I will put a 1/16 inch strip of Hulk up on foam, and I will ask any competitor to send me their product, and or we do it side by side at whatever thickness they want, and I bet you dollars to donuts, Hulk outperforms their product because I've done it a lot of the competitive products. So cementitious, our stuff is not simply a coating that gets mixed with cement to add a little bit of flexibility to the cement, but it's actually waterproof. So again, you see a lot of specs, like this fella's spraying a cinder block wall. You see a lot of specs where they want that cement look, but they need something waterproofed, or they're planning on doing something like blindside construction. They're pouring against concrete. They want a concrete-based waterproofing in there. It's non-combustible, much like all cement-based products. So fire resistance is a big one. It's a Class A fire-resistant coating as well. If you couple it with one of those boards, a hydroblock board, and or the textile, you've got a lot of layers of fire resistance for shared walls or dividing walls, or areas around a fireplace, and anywhere where the property line is lagging and you need that fire resistance by code. Duplex walls, it's a really good alternative for the waterproofing. Now, as I mentioned, they are used quite often as a base for essentially taking foam and bringing it to something that looks like cement, right? So if you have a parkade that is ICF walls and you need it to look like it's a cement parkade, that is a solution. You need it waterproof, have some fire resistance over the foam, and you want it to look like it's standardized cement, go for it. On traditional concrete, in an elevator shaft, they're big spots for doing this. Stairwells and hotels. There's quite a few uses for cementitious waterproofing. And we see more of those specs more and more in the commercial sector, or light commercial sector. There's a lot of residential you don't see too many elevator. You see them, but there's not too many elevator shafts or emergency exit stairwells that you're doing in a residential application. But you are doing ICF pools, and you are doing ICF stucco finishing systems, so that's why we designed it. And it's nice because it's the same product used for both. It's reading here, guys, is you got a 12-month on this, okay? 1/16 of an inch at a time, or maximum an 1/8 inch, okay? So this is not a product to go that you need a ton of on the wall. If you do need to take out because the wall's telegraphing, do your coat at that 1/8 inch, and then just do a coat with aggregates in it, and then you'll have aggregates in your stucco coat as well, so that can remove all those any of that telegraphing on the wall. Recoat time, meaning the minimal amount of time between the time that you want to put on the next coat is 2 hours. You try to do it before that, it's just going to stick to itself and you'll just pull it around. So it's going to become tack free in about 30 minutes. So it's like a lot of once you add that cement, you're having a chemical reaction between the lime and the polymer, much like epoxy with resin and hardener, right? You got only a certain amount of time, so that's why speed is of the essence with this stuff. It can be immersed after 3 to 5 days. Great adhesion to concrete and shore hardness. So it's the flexibility is actually surprising, and its elongation at 12% is surprising, being that it's a cement-based coating. How many cement products do you know that have 12% elongation? You know, that's stretching before it cracks. That's quite a bit for something. So guys, the theoretical coverage is there on how far the 3.5 gallon kit goes. We actually sell them in 5 gallon pails, but we're going to start selling them in 3.5 gallon pails. One thing to be mindful of with this coating is you always want to mix it in a white pail if you're outside. The black pails, this was a snafu on our part, and we fully recognize it now. We ship them in our cool black Hulk pails to really hot areas, and you have something that has a quick flash time, and that can bite you pretty quick if it's absorbing all that ambient heat. So a white pail is what you want to mix it in always. And pouring the coating in before the cement helps. You'll get a lot less of those little tiny beads that want to stick around, the little clumps of cement. Maybe let's leave the data sheet, guys, and go to the equipment. Okay, common tools. So we kind of went over this. There's your Hawk in the middle there. That's what you put your material on. There's I'm assuming this is an AI guy here, AI Mario putting the cement on with his stucco trowel and then his Darby. Plastic float. The other floats are sponges. Sponges are okay, not so much for polymer stuff, but for your stuccos. A lot of guys use sponges. The gravity fed hopper, kind of, that one is the one that's illustrated there, is fed by compressed air, not the electric. And the paddle mixer. So the paddle mixer, that's actually pretty important. So there's a coil mixer and a paddle mixer. A coil mixer is used for mixing resins and paints, and it's a little spool like that. Don't use that for mixing something. This stuff's more the consistency of like a drywall mud, and you need to get as much of that powder whipped into the polymer as possible so you don't get little clumps. Use the paddle mixer, not a coil mixer. These guys are using the big boy tools, okay? The guy on the bottom spraying a stucco over top of a brown coat. The guy on the top spraying cementitious. But these are textured guns. Now, Graco, if you just go on and you look up Graco textured sprayers, you're going to get the list of all the different sprayers that are there and that are available. Some of them can convert into normal sprayers, so you can spray textures and products like ours. Be mindful. Some of them can spray aggregates, meaning things with sand or quartz or silica, aggressive aggregates. Some of them can't. Some of them are strictly made just to shoot like plasters and muds. Okay. Don't run the aggregates through if you get one that's made only to shoot muds. It'll grind down the guts of that machine. So these are their tech sprays. And this is in particular the tech spray HTX is one that converts a high pressure airless sprayer to low pressure texture sprayer. This is a good starter unit, and it's a gas powered, so it's easy to get on sites where maybe you don't have access to power. And you can spray your regular Hulk with it and then switch over and spray aggregates with it. And it does handle aggregates up to 20 mils. On the Titan side, so Titan is the kind of the big competitor to Graco. The Power Max, this one spits it out at a really high rate, but you can put like 10 gallons in that basin there. So you just dump it in the basin. A really important thing with these type of machines, and I will tell you, it comes with a little ball that you run through when you clean the tube, your hose, and it helps you clean out your hose when you put lubricant through it. Do that after every single use, because cement products, when they dry the things out around them, and it can start to crack the inner rubber lining of the hoses. So you will see it in the manual, but I know a lot of us skip over the manual. But I've seen it time and time again where people skip that and they leave it, and then they go to turn it on the next day without running water through it, and rubber starts to unwind in a spool because a little piece gets caught by the aggregate and it's cracked, and now it's unwinding itself on the inside of your hose. You don't want this happening on a job site. You don't want it happening to an expensive piece of equipment. So always lubricate your hoses, and always run that ball through it to pick up any of the aggregate that maybe got left behind. These, though, if you're doing a commercial project, a large building, an EFIS job, a stucco job, that texture sprayer is what you want, absolutely. You will see a lot of the videos online of guys doing ICF pools. When they're spraying on the cement, they're using some texture sprayers to get it on the walls, and then they trowel it all out. That's exactly what they're using. Is one of those units. The nice thing about Titan is you can go back and forth from Wagner and Titan tips and pieces. Graco's Graco. Graco is sometimes more available, though, and it's available at all the Sherwin-Williams. So here's the coating itself. It feels like a little sugary, almost like there's little beads, and those are the fiberglass beads in there. Here's the viscosity of the coating when you originally get it. What I'm going to do is progressively add some cement and whip it up here just with a stir stick. So this is maybe 4 parts coating, 1 part cement. I don't mix as fast as a mechanical mixer, so forgive me for that. Because of the adhesive binders in cementitious as well, another place I forgot to mention it's commonly used is behind cement boards. So if you're putting cement board on the exterior of a house, on the exterior of a house, and you want a waterproof behind it, you want to get a really good mechanical bond, you can mix this and mix it not so heavy, and then vertically trowel it on the wall to get troweled ribbons for adhesive.
Would
Make a little more cement, Shane.
could you use that instead of mastic?
I wouldn't recommend it in place of mastic. Simply because mastic's really good. It's where you've got 2 materials that want to fight against each other and freeze thaw. You got 2 materials that you need a lot of flexibility. So where this had the 12% elongation at break, or 14, I think the mastic's got a lot closer to 50. That just means it can take a lot more motion, and then on different axes too. So I'm really wishing I just poured this in the big pail and use the mechanical mixer. What I'm trying to do, guys, is get a thicker mix here with just a bit extra cement. And what I'm going to do is put it on the wall and then trowel it for you. And that'll be a good example of what you would do if you wanted to say adhere. If you guys are familiar with doing EFIS applications or Mountain Hardy board, and you want a cementitious waterproofing behind it, you'll know that what's usually required is that you do vertical ribbons. Here's a trowel. This one has big 1/2-inch ribbons. Usually it'd just be little tiny 1/8 or 1/4-inch ribbons. I'm going to get some of this on the wall just with a putty knife. You guys do that and you do a vertical ribbon like that. I don't know how well you can see it. And you mount your foam. What that does is it allows the high points to compress against the foam, but it still gives a little bit of area for moisture that maybe seeps in behind your flashings up top or gets in there. It can run down to your drip edge at the bottom. So it can be used as a really good adhesive. Usually if you're doing the adhesive, I would just spray it on with one of the machines and then just vertical ribbon it. And I'd probably use a machine with a little bit more guts. The compressed air, if you've got consistent air pressure, the air-fed hoppers are going to work a lot better. This little electric unit's not terrible, and it'll do pretty good for the aggregates as well. But it's kind of the starter. And then the texture sprayers, of course, you get that on the wall in a couple seconds, and then you just go vertically trowel, put your foam on, and it makes for, or your cement board, it makes for a great adhesive product over foam. But then I'll show you guys the thickness one more time here of this stuff. Now that it's mixed. Hard to get a feel for it over a video. You'll know, so you can see in mine that there's some chunks in there still. So I clearly have mixed it. That's why I would say use that paddle mixer. You'll get those out, and if you feel like you've whipped it enough, whip it another 10 minutes. So that is that. And that is the cementitious product, guys, in a nutshell. Again, it's the core to the stucco system. It's the core product used in the pool system. If you want to take your ICF and bring it up to either have better structure to it, waterproofing, fire resistance, a lot more integrity, better compressive value, better impact resistance, abrasion resistance, or you're just simply after that aesthetic, the aesthetic of a concrete wall, it's a great product. One other thing you can do with this is you can take this, you can mix it with white Portland cement as opposed to the traditional like we have here. Add in some concrete stain, and you can get the colored concrete look as well. So there's a lot of aesthetic applications for this. You put a nice sealer over that, and you get that marbled colored cement effect. Aaron's really familiar with the product that we have, the water-based urethane that goes on. You can get it in matte and gloss, but if you put that over top of a dyed cementitious, it is beautiful. I'm going to show you guys one more thing. Hold it. This is silica abrasive for mortar. Okay. Think sand, but extremely small. I think this stuff's below 1 mil. You can mix that in. It'll aerate it more, and you can then get higher build out of the material. I'll mix that in as quick as I can here, and then just show you guys the difference. You never want, so a rule of thumb with cement products, you never want to mix more than 30% of your total mixture. Aggregates never make up more than 30% of your total mixture, or you'll start to have it break apart. But you can see it sticks a lot better. Just that little bit of sand aggregate. And what you can do now is you can take that 1/8 of an inch coat. You can probably build out a 1/4 inch coat or your 3/16 inch coat fairly easily with this, and it'll stay on the wall and it won't hang on you. So with cement, that's the biggest difference between mortars and cements. If you think concrete is cement with really big pieces of aggregate, really big rocks, mortars are cement with really small granules of aggregate like sands. Pool mortar, stucco mortar, the base coat of stucco, scratch coat, the brown coat is just varying degrees of aggregates mixed with cement and water. What it allows you to do is build out from a nominal thickness to a thick, a bit wider thickness on your wall. And it's the aggregates that allow you to do that. So I hope that helped, guys. I know we didn't go too much into the stucco itself. We wanted to focus solely on the cement product. Here, the cementitious product itself. We'll do the stucco system down the road. But obviously, when you add an anti-fracture webbing to this stuff, if you think the wire mesh in stucco, if you think of the plastic checkered mesh in EFIS, the fiberglass checkered mesh that's built into this board, that's an anti-fracture webbing, meaning it's going to help improve your finish's ability, strengthen it not to crack. So once that's embedded in there, it also adds a lot of strength and rigidity to the system. Going over the textile, same method, put it on the wall, embed the textile, put it over the textile. With the cementitious, I always recommend letting that first coat dry, embed the textile into it, let the whole thing dry, then go over it again, just letting it off gas. Cement-based product, you don't want cracking. Do it in the layers and give them the proper 24 hours to cure up. Other than that, that's all I've got. If anybody out there has questions, I want to thank everybody for joining. If anybody's got questions or wants to introduce themselves to the group, let us know. I'm going to maybe throw this on the wall, and can't wait to see you guys using this stuff.
I think with that, we will end off today's PK session, but thanks again for joining us today, and we hope you all have a great and safe weekend and happy waterproofing. Thanks so much, everybody.